Well, hello, hello. It has been a little while because I am in the midst of preparing a couple of classes that I'm teaching tomorrow, and I have been completely sucked into those things. And also reading cards and giving readings and support to people who have reached out to me, which has been really rewarding and just confirms that, what I'm doing is helping people. So I appreciate that, of course. And it has encouraged me and inspired me to look at a couple of different things that I can offer to people by way of mentoring or advising or support, because I have a pretty wide varied skill set. I am a trained nutritionist, an herbalist, an aromatherapist. I also work with flower essences. I've also been a gardener and worked in a plant nursery for 9 years, grow my own vegetables, read tarot, do a lot of self-inner work, all of the things. So, of course, if you need support in any of those areas, feel free to reach out and we will schedule some time, because that's what we're here to do, right? In this life, time is to share time with people who value us and appreciate us and can benefit from our exchange. Now, today's tarot is interesting. Not a lot of big, heavy energies. There's no major arcana that showed up today. We have the opening energy of the Page of Swords, followed by the challenge of the Seven of Pentacles, clarified by the Two of Cups, and then the ultimate outcome that we have is the Two of Pentacles clarified by the Queen of Pentacles. So a lot of earth energy. And even though there's not any major arcana that are showing up, I am still seeing hints of astrological influences by way of the Page of Swords and that Gemini energy, which we have Mars up in right now in square to all of the energies that we have over in Pisces, mainly the Sun and Mercury and Neptune, which are all conjunct right now. And whenever something is in square, which just sounds like astrological jargon, it is a reflection of a mathematical relationship. So a square would be a 90-degree angle. And anytime that something is happening by transit in a 90-degree angle, it's giving us a challenge. It's full of potential, right? Because we have character building opportunities whenever we are faced with challenges, but it gives us this friction that we have to work with in a lot of ways. It's something that you can't really ignore or blow off to another day, because it sets a tone of challenge. And we have that energy between Mars, which is over in Gemini, which is in our land of communications and expression and how we engage in that way, and having the Mars energy there, we can, possibly be experiencing some combativeness. And so it's calling us to task, what is our goal in a conversation and communication? Where do we feel like we need to express ourselves? And are we giving ourselves space to do that in a way that can be heard, so that it's not explosive, right? Because we know that Mars can kind of have that explosive nature. Now, you consider that Mars, which is, naturally at home in Aries, has a lot of stuff going on in his home. It's like he's out traveling in the land of Gemini, and there's these three anchors sitting in his home. So we have, Jupiter, which is over in Aries. We have Chiron, which is over in Aries. And then, of course, thank goodness, Venus just moved out of Aries and moved into Taurus. Now, having these expansive energies around Chiron and our own wounds is in a lot of ways calling Mars's attention to speak up for things that perhaps they didn't speak up for before. And so it is calling us to the plate, or calling us to task in a lot of ways, in these ways. Now, the energy that's going on in Taurus is that earth energy that I think is being reflected on in our reading today, because we have our challenge showing up as the Seven of Pentacles, which is, how do you have patience around something that's of a material value or is in the realm of resources? Like, you may want to plant a seed and harvest it in 2 days, but that's just not the way that things work in reality and in the earthen realm, right? You have to plant a seed, you have to nurture the seed, you have to make sure it has enough sunlight, you have to make sure it has the right environment to grow in, because every environment that you plant it in is going to offer different things that you have to take into consideration for. And our challenge is having patience. And really, it's all the experience, right? As time goes by, you see what works, you see what doesn't work, and it comes down to what you're paying attention to. And that may be a challenge, but that is ultimately how we grow and how we make sure that we are able to reap the harvest that we are investing the energy and effort into. The way through the challenge came in as the Two of Cups. Now, that's a pretty beneficial card, the Two of Cups. We see these two people who are in a space of mutual exchange. And that's something that we forget sometimes, especially when we are called to task by way of communication and speaking up for ourselves, is that it is a mutual exchange. And by holding that space for the other, not only can we learn where the other person is coming from, but we can also put voice to where we're coming from. And in a lot of ways, that allows things to grow and develop. So keep that in mind. Now, the ultimate outcome we had is these two different pentacle cards, the Two of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles is that Capricorn energy that we have Pluto in the last stages of. Now, Pluto's basically at 29 degrees of Capricorn right now. There's 30 degrees in every sign, right? Because there's 12 signs. And a 360-degree zodiac wheel. So each of those signs has 30 degrees. And it starts at 0, and the last degree is 29. So Pluto is getting ready to move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, which is a really big shift in transformative energy because Pluto is a generational planet. Because of its elliptical orbit, it can be in a sign anywhere from 12 years to 20 years. And it's basically going to go into Aquarius and then retrograde back into Capricorn throughout this year, and then eventually move into Aquarius for a big old chunk of time. You know, it's not something that we typically see or would ever see unless you're like of the Sumerian period where you'd ever have a Pluto return, because it has a 240 plus year orbit around the sun. So it's a generational influence, but it can affect us in a largely transformative way. And we have that showing up in our life path, in our career. We also have the influence of Saturn, which also just moved into Pisces, which is bringing clarity to, you know, any area of fantasy or escape that we've been in for the last, you know, whatever span of time. Saturn is going to be in Pisces for 2.5 years. So wherever Pisces is sitting in your chart, whether it's the first house, second house, all the way around to the 12th house, it's going to be bringing a sense of responsibility and sobriety to that area of your life. So here we are, we're balancing in the midst of chaos. Where do you put your attention? Where do you put your beliefs and your values? Because that can make or break things, right? If you find yourself walking on a tightrope and you have one of your values in one hand and one of your values in another, in order for you to progress and move forward, you have to keep your eyes focused on what's ahead of you rather than everything that's all around you. And so I say that with a grain of salt as we all move through all of these times of unknown that are happening throughout the world and throughout our nation, right? There's lots of things that are happening that are like big swelling bodies of water that want to just call to our attention. But what's in front of you? What do you want to move toward? I think that's where we need to put our attention. I send you a lot of love and a good wish. And of course, if you are in need of some time to share so we can connect over tarot or whatever other project you want me to help you brainstorm with, feel free to reach out to me at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com. Or of course, check out my website, rootsofalchemy.com, and my services that I offer there, as well as the products, because I am here to support you. Sending you so much love. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.